Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. We got a show jam-packed with betting information, a lot of baseball going today. According to our first guest, Tokyo Brandon, strange first name, everybody wants baseball. Will have the highest viewership of all time today. So, with that said, Tokyo Brandon, he's going to look at a prop bet for us in the Cincinnati-Cleveland game. He's also going to take apart the Orioles and Yankees game. Adam Trigger after that. The Red Sox against the Jays, and who's going to win in the Seattle Mariners game? Mark Zinno, the only person who reads memos, will discuss one college football game. He's on Washington State, and he'll tell us why. And he, too, didn't read the other memo. He will be discussing the Toronto Blue Jay game as well. Teddy Covers woke up this morning with food poisoning. A lot of jokes run through my head. I've seen Teddy with food poisoning. So has Dan. It's not a good sight. But Steve Merrill will be co-hosting, sitting in last minute. Steve, welcome to the show, man. And I'm going to hijack it. We're going to talk a little bit first before we bring Tokyo Brandon on. How are you doing?
Doing well. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't it like sushi the last time Teddy was sick and he never eats sushi?
Oyster.
Oyster. It was something bizarre like, raw seafood. So I'm very curious what it was this time. Plus, how do you know, real quick, how do you know when you have food poisoning? Like, I've been sick before. How do you know it's food poisoning? Because it goes away fast. Like, how do you know this morning that it's food poisoning and not like the flu, right?
I don't know. What the hell do I? I've never had food poisoning in my life, but I have had heat stroke, and it was horrible, dude. I mean, horrible. Steve, before we bring Tokyo Brandon on, let's talk a little bit of football. Just you and me. Let's leave the guests for a while. So yesterday, a bunch of people and a lot of really smart, talented handicappers and wise guys really like Jacksonville. And I mentioned on air that why? Jacksonville just stinks. Where are you at with Jacksonville moving forward and Buffalo as well? Because Buffalo really put their foot down last night and staked a claim as being one of the best teams in the NFL moving forward. What are your thoughts on both of those teams? And then we're definitely going to discuss the other game as well.
Yeah, and by the way, I'll do a big game breakdown on college football. I was going to do baseball, but since everyone's doing baseball, I'll do an advanced college football game for a big game breakdown later. So we have that to look forward to. Look, I had Jacksonville last night. I'm 10-3 on all other football best bets the last 2 weeks. So now 10-4. Had the over in the Commanders game, so that was an easy win. I did like Jacksonville for a few reasons. I did a standalone video here. Also did my Fade the Public video. Buffalo is an extremely public side. And look, I know it's always hard to back the weaker team, but let's put this in perspective. The public loved on Sunday Tampa Bay and the Las Vegas Raiders, and they both lost straight up. So this is a situation where, it didn't work out last night, but I think there were a lot of situational angles that favored Jacksonville. And I thought of the three ugly contrarian underdogs this week, that Jacksonville was the only one that actually had some punch. I mean, the Panthers obviously were tough to back, although I did have a best bet on them Sunday. And also Denver was a team that was tough to back. That was my last cut Sunday. I wish I had used them. But what I will say is that Buffalo, 5 touchdowns on 5 possessions was pretty damn impressive, and that is a huge red flag for me, Prez. So what my thoughts on Jacksonville today are a lot different than they were 24 hours ago. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, so Johnny Detroit writes in the chat room, each year the Sharps have a team. They claim there's a lot of value on that team, and basically they spend all year chasing, and it never works out. It works out. It's a great astute point by Johnny. Is Jacksonville going to be that team? Are you and the rest of the wise sharp money out there done with them for a while?
Well, let's put this in perspective. I hadn't been on Jacksonville in weeks 1 or 2, so they weren't necessarily like a play on.
We're not talking about you.
I got it, but I'm just saying I don't know because I don't look at them as like the sharp play. I just like the situation on Monday. I thought there was some value there. So, I have no love for them going forward. And I will say just big picture, don't chase. And that's one thing now, my 29th football season as a full-time professional capper, I've gotten a lot better at. Back in the 90s when I started, huge contrarian player in the NFL, even more so back then. And I would chase teams for 3 or 4 weeks. And first of all, as you know, Prez, from a business perspective, that's murder, because as a professional bettor, you can do it and understand why you're doing it. But when you put out like a bottom feeder like the Panthers, say 3 or 4 weeks in a row and they get blown out, that doesn't look good to clients. But that's not why I don't do it. I just don't chase, whether it's the financial markets or the sports betting markets. And like I said, I thought Jacksonville was in a good spot last night. They got blown out. They played awful. That's a huge red flag for me in any sport. And I definitely drop a team fast when that happens.
Yeah, and let's talk then about Cincinnati. Before we get into that, some guy in the chat room, Tokyo Brandon. Oh, great. Prez is in a mode. I think he means mood. This should be a great show. I'm in a great mood up until for another at least 2 minutes. So Cincinnati, Steve. Here we have a team that came into the year with a lot of high expectations. And honestly, if you go back and look over the last couple of years, this is a team that really, although they have Burrow and Chase, were built around their defense.
Right.
Their defense looked really good in week 2 against Kansas City. Week 1 is irrelevant. They played the Pats. They couldn't stop anything last night against Washington. And I mean, we're talking about running plays, medium plays, long plays. I actually think Cincinnati might be a huge bet on team moving forward. Any thoughts with that?
Couple things. First of all, let's talk about the Commanders. Maybe the Commanders are a lot better this year. Maybe Jaden Daniels is for real at quarterback, right? So that's my first takeaway. But as far as the Bengals go, this is a team that starts slow every year because Burrow never plays in the preseason. He was coming off the injury last year. This team started 0-2 straight up in ATS last year, and then they barely won by 3 in that Monday night game against the Rams. They started overall 1-3 straight up, 0-3-1 ATS last year, and then they went 4-0 straight up in ATS from week 5 on. So we've seen this movie before. 2022, they went 0-2 straight up ATS, and then they covered 5 straight. And I think something like 10 out of the next 11 from week 3 on 2 years ago. So, yes, I agree, Prez, that the Bengals could be a play-on team if history's any indicator. But I think the big takeaway for me is just that this Commanders team is different this year, and they've got a real quarterback finally. As I mentioned, I had a best bet on the over last night. We missed the Jaguars, but I'm 10-3 on all other games the last 2 weeks, including the over in this one. That was pretty easy.
Nice. Okay, let's get to our first guest. The sexy Tokyo Brandon. How are you, man? Oh, my God. It's a shock every time
Doing all right.
me, Tokyo. You finally got a baseball cap on. Yeah, I'm not letting you talk. We're just going to have you on the screen. So,
I'm a man
Steve,
hats.
Tokyo, mute his mic, Dan. Tokyo has Jakob, Junis under 2.5 earned runs. Steve, do you have any thoughts on that play?
Why do you like that, Tokyo? That would be my follow. By the way, he has the best sounding microphone on WagerTalk TV. I need to get your audio set up. I don't necessarily need your video set up. I don't need the visual setup, man, because that's you and you alone. But the audio setup is fantastic.
Okay, Brandon, enough. Let's go, brother. Why do you like Jakob Junis?
Best sounding mic, best looking face, best winning streak. No, it's pretty rare right now because I'm number 1 the last 3 days, 7 days, and 30 days. I'm also number 1 this year. So it's a good time to be on your show, Prez. Thank you for having me. And we are having a special today, which is a $5 day. And I have a 4% play out in Major League Baseball today. But this is a free 4% play that I sent out to my clients before the show. So Jakob Junis for the Reds is going against Tanner Beebe for Cleveland. Cleveland right now is hitting 19th out of 30 MLB teams. And Jakob Junis is probably having one of the best stretches of any pitcher I can imagine. I mean, in his last 4 starts, he's only allowed 3 earned runs, and he's gone more than 5 innings in each of those starts. He's pretty much on fire. And if you look at his history against this Cleveland team, it's so-so. But what I really like about this play is he has not allowed 2 earned runs since he became a starter, which was about a month ago. He's gone 5 innings, 6 innings, and he's allowed 2 earned runs in those 3 starts. But he has not allowed more than 2 in any of his starts. So 2.5 earned runs. He'll probably get jerked out in the fifth inning, probably, maybe even before that. So I doubt he'll give 3 earned runs before he gets taken out of the game. I like Jakob Junis under 2.5 earned runs in this one.
Brandon, I'm going to ask you just a big picture baseball question because you're obviously a former MLB scout. You do incredibly well with baseball, as we all know. Just how do you approach this final week and a half of the regular season? I mean, we talk about how these non-contenders in September often are good plays as big dogs because they call up some young talent that's still playing hard. What's your approach for the viewers out there, anybody that's not familiar with September handicapping?
Steve, it's much more pleasant talking to you than Prez. It's amazing. But thank you for the question. I think it's easier to bet at this time because some teams are in it to win it, and some teams have given up. Some teams have thrown in the towel. And the teams that have thrown in the towel are generally checking their younger talent or seeing what's going on for next year. You've got teams like the Tigers, Padres, Royals, Diamondbacks, who are just tooth and nail fighting for wins right now, which are really fun teams to bet, which is why the Tigers are on such a great streak right now. But you got teams that have been out of it, like the Angels, and it's great to bet against those teams because they are not playing for anything. They don't care, and generally they're going to put young talent in that are going to go in and get smashed, as we saw yesterday. I forgot the Cubs. I forgot the name of their pitcher, but he just got smashed and they left him in for like 4 innings, just gave up 7 runs, run after run, home run after home run. I think he gave an in the park home run too. I mean, they just left him in there. So, the teams that are out of it are playing like they're out of it. And the teams that need wins are playing like they need wins. Doesn't always equal a win. But as we are sports bettors and we are trying to bet on things that are predictable, that's quite predictable at this time of the year.
Tokyo Brandon, everybody. And yes, Tokyo Brandon is an unbelievable sports bettor. Honestly, as good as it gets. As far as fashion, that's how he balances his life. Unbelievable sports bettor, fashion. Tokyo Starchild writes, you can tell Tokyo Brandon is living his best life. He dresses like he's cooler than a polar bear's toenails. I've never heard that phrase. I am not familiar with polar bear's toenails having any type of temperature. But yes, Tokyo.
But they're in the snow, so it makes sense because they're in the snow, I think. So they'd be cold.
No, well, I don't think I actually don't think it makes sense because I don't think nails have a temperature. When I'm hot, my toenails and fingernails are the same temperature as when I'm cold. But with that said, our child, yes, he is. He really does think he is the coolest guy on the planet. Okay, so let's turn our attention to the next game. Orioles versus the Yankees. Do you wax your chest hair? I mean, who's going to win this game?
Let's take a look. We got Clark Schmidt going against Kremer, and let's face it, the Orioles are in a bit of a quagmire right now, not hitting well. I have them hitting 21st out of 30 teams, where I have the Yankees hitting 8th, so advantage Yankees. Bullpens, I got the Orioles bullpen ranked 18, while I have the Yankees ranked 3. Advantage Yankees. And Clark Schmidt, let's take a look at how he's been doing. He has not allowed more than 2 earned runs in any starts for the last 2 months. He's only allowed 3 earned runs in his last 3 starts. And he goes against a team where in his career, he has a batting average against of 195 and an OPS against of 595. I'd say the Yankees have a pretty good shot of winning this game. And I don't really care what the odds are. I'm going to take the Yankees here on the money line. I believe when I put this out to my clients, it was minus 150. If that's too rich for you, here's a tip from a professional gambler. Take a minus 1. It's risk-free. If the Yankees win, you don't lose any money. And you can knock off 30 cents off the price by taking a minus 1. So if that's a little rich for you, take the minus 1. I have a 2% play on the Yankees on the money line. Minus 150. And I think they're going to have no problem beating the Orioles today.
Yeah, Tokyo, definitely glad you're talking about 2 of the best teams in the American League here. And unlike Teddy, I don't like the hard-hitting, gotcha follow-ups. I want big picture, general questions we can all learn from. So I need to know first, do you wax your chest? Inquiring minds want to know.
That is a very bad question. That's not appropriate,
Prez,
Steve.
you
I
set
did
me
not.
up. Prez set me
I
up,
did
Tokyo.
not
Look at this. He
put
set me
that
up.
in the chat room to ask. I did not ask you to ask that question. Okay, I did.
Can we cut Prez's?
No, hey, Tokyo,
Anyways,
though, seriously,
no,
I do like to ask you the big picture follow-ups. And these are two teams that fascinate me because all season long, well, most of the season, maybe not now, these were the two best teams in the American League. The Orioles, it's questionable now. But look, with the playoffs around the corner, we've seen this new format the last couple years, and it's a small sample size. But last year, what was it, like 1-9? The teams with the bye, I think, went with like 1-9 combined. They all got eliminated.
Yep.
I mean, do you almost get the feeling the Orioles are maybe going to do better in the playoffs because they're doing so bad now? The Yankees are just pulling away at the division. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, these guys are creatures of habit. You alluded to my previous scouting days. I got to hang around some of these guys that they're especially the pitchers are major creatures of habit. And when you knock them out of their rhythm, it really hurts it really hurts their mentality. So yeah, I'm not surprised that they went 1-9 with the buys. I don't know the everlasting numbers, but last year it certainly was a trend. But I have a future on the Orioles to win the AL East. Looks like I'm going to lose that, so I'm a little upset that the Orioles, since the All-Star break, have been nosediving. They have a lot of talent, though, but it's really hard to pick it up quickly. So if the Orioles can show me a little sign of life in the last week here of the regular season, then I have some hopes for them in the regular season. But let's be honest, playing that week versus not playing that week. I mean, playing that week is a little bit of a detriment too, because your pitchers get tired, your bullpen gets used, and people can get injured. So I don't know. I don't like the Orioles prospect right now, seeing them play so listless right now, 21 ranked batting and 18th ranked bullpen. I don't like their prospects. Let's put it that way.
Tokyo Brandon, my brother, we have another comment in the chat room that I feel important to read. I think it's from Waj. Basically, it is Tokyo Brandon looks like he goes to P. Diddy's parties.
Hey, I bet those are pretty good parties.
Pretty good line.
It's not bad. It's not a bad line
Depends
at all.
on what you do at the parties. There's nothing wrong with going to the parties. It's just how you behave.
Exactly.
So, Steve, listen. So, Steve, listen. We have Adam Trigger and Mark Zinno waiting in the wings. They got some great betting information. What did Bettors learn? We got so much to discuss, but I'm just going to hijack this entire show because Tokyo Brandon is with us, and he's just too damn fun.
I'm going to jump in the chat then.
People want to know if you baby oil your chest. It's getting out of control in there.
Who started this?
So, Steve, last week I started with Tokyo Brandon. Never done that before. And one of the guys in the comment section wrote, Prez, why are you being so mean to Tokyo Brandon, blah, blah, blah. So I respond with, Tokyo is a really good friend of mine, and I love him a lot, and I'm appreciative that he's part of the channel, etc., etc. And Tokyo responds with, Prez has warts, but we accept his warts. Tokyo thinks that that's having my back. Would you consider that having my back, Steve Merrill?
It depends on where the warts are. It depends on where the warts are, would be my first question. But yeah, I don't know.
I ain't looking.
With friends like that, who needs enemies, right? Global.
Exactly. Well, hey,
we got Canada, Japan, and America on the screen right now. Why can't we all just get along? Three major international powers here on the screen.
I'm telling you, I love Tokyo Brandon. And I bet his plays. And if you aren't betting his plays,
I win.
Something is wrong with you. Tokyo, what do you got for the clients?
Thanks. I said we all have warts, by the way. I have them. Steve has them too, I think. Although Steve, I don't know if Steve
I'd like to go on the record right now and say I do not have any warts that I can see, at least. So unless they're on my back.
Gotcha. Okay.
That slander will not fly here while I'm on the air. What do you have to promote?
Promote, dude.
$5 day today. I got a 4% play. I got a 4% play in Major League Baseball today. Go to that link there and you can grab that. Added into the package, don't tell Johnny, but I added a play into that package secretly. So anyone who buys that play gets a little bonus. That's what I got today. Go get that
play.
$5.
There you go.
Yes, sir.
Tokyo Brandon. Steve, I'm guessing his shirt's buttoned right down to his belly button, but that's a different story.
I did notice, Prez, like every segment, there was one less button showing. So I did notice that. I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Yeah, dude. Totally. Anyway, I love having him on. What a fun segment. I mean, we basically wasted 24 minutes, but so be it. It was too awesome. It is $5 Tuesday over at WagerTalk. Every handicapper gets to pick one play that is $5. Last week, my $5 play was a 4% total in the NFL. It cashed. I'm on an outstanding run in these 4% plays. I'm on a 3-0 run in NFL 4%ers. I'm 25-9 in my last 34 4% plays. And I have another 4% NFL total up now. It's only $5. Please buy that play. I'm telling you guys, I absolutely love it. Steve, what do you have going? And then we'll get to what did bettors learn.
Yeah, $5 Tuesday. Now, I was actually going to be the featured capper today because I was on to promote it, and we got so tied up with Tokyo, his shirt, his lack of buttons, that we haven't even mentioned it. We buried the lead. It is $5 Tuesday at wagertalk.com for every capper. This is a new promotion we started last week. It was very well received, and I do have a strong baseball best bet, and I'm on a 30-9 baseball run over the past month and a half. Longer term, the last 3 months, 83-45 going back to early summer. Look, 10-4 in football the last 2 weeks is pretty damn good. 5-2, 5-2, very consistent. But baseball is still making money. We just talked about baseball, and it is for real. Get my top best bet an 80% discount for just $5. Every capper, including my MLB Steamroller, $5 Tuesday right now, wagertalk.com.
Brilliant stuff. Steve, we got an interesting what did bettors learn, and we could do a whole show on this. Tell us.
Yeah, so I'm flipping around last Friday as I'm doing some work, and I actually I slacked both Rick and Johnny when I saw this coming up. It was on one of the Fox Business Channel, but all the business channels were talking about it. And of course, they teased me and sucked me in for 45 minutes to wait for the story, but it said, the future of sports betting coming up. What it was a little 3-minute segment, but it was a pretty serious 3 minutes. I was unaware of this till I saw it on Friday. Last Thursday, some congressional members proposed a bill that would vastly limit some freedoms when it comes to legalized sports betting. You know, we have the presidential election coming up. I doubt Trump or Harris are going to be talking about sports betting, but you do have every single congressman up for re-election every even year. So you might want to do some research before you vote your congressional member back in or vote them out and see where they stand on this bill, if they have a stance. Blumenthal, one of the senators from Connecticut, is one of the co-sponsors, and they want to basically limit, if not outlaw, in-game betting, especially on college sports. They also want to maybe limit all college sports betting in general. They want to limit your abilities to make deposits within a 24-hour period. They want to regulate if you're betting more than $1,000 that you qualify. And this is all because up to 7 million people have gambling problems in this country. And then, of course, they toted out a couple families at the press conference explaining how gambling ruined their lives. And they want to use some of the tobacco industry regulations for sports betting now. Let's put this in perspective. 6 years ago, Supreme Court finally gave us the freedom to bet in other states than Nevada, something that was a long time coming. Last year, a 44% increase. I think it was like $11 billion wagered legally. There's 38 of the 50 states that now have some form of betting on sports. So, yeah, it's time for Congress to step in and screw this up, right? Because it's been going pretty well, in my opinion. I don't know if this has any legs, Prez, but first of all, in-game betting is not going away. So let's just push it back offshore if you really want to not regulate it, right? So how's that going to help?
Idiots.
You and I obviously look the same way on this. But let's take a look, though, at your congressional members up for election, because everybody's voting for a Congress member this year when they vote for the president as well. And make sure that they're not supporting this bill, because it's not a good one.
Look, Steve, I don't want to get into this, and frankly, we're way out of time. But let me just say one thing quick. It is not the smartest people or the sharpest tool that run for politics. Like, let's be honest here.
Students, right? Fraternity presidents.
There's no country in the world where Mr. Genius is your leader. We're literally, basically, it's a bunch of people who couldn't cut it in the real world and have self-esteem issues that are trying to become leaders of our countries. And why would we expect anything different? Adam Trigger joining us. Adam, I am so sorry that we have run out of time for you. I just want to thank you for joining us today, and we will speak
You
to
wax
you
your
next.
chest.
Yeah, and Adam, in all seriousness, I can't help making those Tokyo Brandon segments longer than they are, and especially without Teddy lecturing me about it in the background.
No, he would have been happy. He would have been real happy.
So, dude, no notice. You stepped up. You're on the show, and let's get into it. Game, no follow-ups, by the way. Steve will set up game 2. Jays and Red Sox. You like over 7.5. Tell us why.
Yeah, so a couple reasons here. First, the Red Sox are still, for at least the coming days, playing meaningful ball. And that means they're showing up with energy. They're still in the race. And I think it correlates to hitting, which is what's happened for them the last couple of days. They've won 3 straight, 21 runs in those 3 games, so 7 runs per game. So I at least think you get the Red Sox still showing up, even though their chances to make the playoffs are very slim at this point. They're going to go up against Bowden Francis here. Prez, I know you're a Blue Jays fan. I know you probably love this kid. I'm sure everyone north of the border right now absolutely loves him. He's been awesome. 4.2, or I'm sorry, 4-2 record, 1.67 ERA in 8 starts since entering the rotation. Opponents are hitting just $1.15 against him. That's insane. Those numbers are absolutely insane. But I don't think it's going to continue. And there's a couple reasons why. The first thing, his fastball velo is down. It was 93 to 95 a month ago. Now it's sitting around 91. He acknowledged this in his post-game press conference last time out. And he said, I understand the velo's down. It's something I want to address in the offseason. I want to throw harder coming into next year. But right now, I like where I'm throwing pitches. I trust the location. Location is king. Well, the problem is his location really hasn't been that great. If you've watched his last couple starts, he's gotten away with a couple pitches out over the plate that have gotten absolutely smoked right at someone. There was a couple great defensive plays made behind him in the Mets game, particularly that he took the no-hitter into the 9th inning. And then in the Rangers game, again, just hard hit balls right at fielders. We know, Steve, Prez, you guys bet baseball every day. We know that typically doesn't last. If you're giving up hard contact, at some point you're going to give up some hits. And the Red Sox, they have the benefit of having just seen him about a month ago. Pretty much everyone he's faced to this point has not had a look at him. Red Sox will be getting their second look here. On the other side, you got Brian Bayo. He can be pretty good, but he hasn't been great against the Blue Jays throughout his career. Actually, his worst start of this season came against the Blue Jays, where he was blown up for 7 runs in 2.1 innings. It's a slightly different Jays lineup than he faced earlier this year, but these are young guys. They're free swingers. They can hit the ball. They might strike out, but they will get some hits. You go to these 2 bullpens. Neither are great. I think that 7.5 is low. I think you're going to get runs from both sides here, and this one probably goes over.
Adam Trigger talking a little bit of baseball here on Tuesday's Wager Talk Today. And don't forget, you can find him on MLB First Pitch as well throughout the week. And that show airs live at 11 a.m. Eastern. Interactive questions with the viewers there as well. So be sure to check out First Pitch while the regular season continues here on Wager Talk TV. And Adam, let's talk about another game involving 2 playoff caliber teams. And this Jays obviously are not one, but this one definitely has Mariners and Astros. Mariners were leading this division for a while this season after the Astros started 7-19, but Houston has pulled away since. What is your take on these 2 teams, and specifically, what are you doing with this Seattle-Houston game tonight?
Well, this isn't a client play for me, Steve, but as this continues to move, I mean, to me, it's just absolutely shocking that the Astros continue to take money in this game. Now that we know Yordan Alvarez is not going to play the rest of this series. I said this from 3 months ago. If the Mariners could muster up some offense, this team would be elite. Their pitching is absolutely as good, if not better, than any other team in the league. And it took them 6 months to figure out how to generate some offense. But, in this month, they've been great offensively. The last 18 games, they're averaging 5.6 runs. They're finally hitting. Steve, no surprise that they're 12-6 in those 18 games. So, will it be too little, too late? Maybe, but they're still just a game and a half out of the wild card, and they've got something to play for. And I think they come out and give another good effort here. Like I said, Alvarez, he's not just one of the Astros' best players at this point. He is the best player on this team. And him being out, I think, is a bigger deal that's maybe being made in the market, especially with this moving toward Houston. I don't know how this could possibly move toward Houston with Alvarez out. You talk about the Astros in general this year as a team hitting under 200 in 11 games against the Mariners, against Mariners pitching. Their best hitter is Alvarez. Take him out of the lineup. What are they hitting against the Mariners this season, without him? The Mariners have won 7 of those 11 games this year, Steve. And, Seattle has not hit Astros pitching particularly well either, but they did break out last night for 6 runs on 13 hits. Like I said, they finally are starting to hit. And if this team's going to give you runs, they're going to be extremely tough to beat. Now, another guy that's really tough to beat is Framber Valdez. He's going to get the ball here for the Astros. Last 15 starts, he's been as good as any starter in Major League Baseball, 2.64 ERA. His last 4 starts, Steve, 0.66 ERA, and his opponent batting average against is $1.32. But the Mariners have great numbers against him. He has not beat the Seattle team since 2022. That's 7 starts. He's 0-3 with a 5.54 ERA against them. So they've had his number a little bit, and maybe they can continue to be hot here. Logan Gilbert struggles on the road, but he's pitched great in this ballpark. So you take his road struggles, put him to the side. At Minute Maid Park, he's 4-0 with a 2.18 ERA in his last 5 starts, and the Mariners pulled away last night, which means they were able to sort of save their top bullpen arms. So again, maybe the Mariners are due for a dud, but their season's on the line, and you're still getting plus money with this team, up to, I think, plus 125, plus 130 places. If you're going to bet this game, that's the only way you can go, in my opinion.
Adam Trigger, everyone. Guys, as we've spoken about, it is $5 Tuesday. Ad, what do you have up for the clients?
Yeah, so Major League Baseball has been solid for me the last couple weeks, looking for a strong finish to the season. It's been a good season so far. I'm 7-3 in my last 10 plays. I've got a 4% best bet in Major League Baseball tonight, and it's up for just $5.
Love it. Adam, thank you. Late, last-minute notice with Teddy being sick and Steve jumping into his spot. Adam jumped into Steve's. Really outstanding, dude, and congratulations on your baseball season. Steve Merrill, still a ton to go, man. I'm having a freaking blast. Tokyo is still talking to me in the chat room. He just wrote, I love you, Prez. You're the greatest man alive. Thank you for everything you've done. And then he wrote, watch your ratings soar with me, baby. Okay then. So let's move on, brother. Mark Zinno still to come. And I've decided, because I'm now in such a great mood, that I will do a daily presidential address. I'm going to take apart Minnesota and Green Bay. We're going to put it all in the next 10, 20, 15 minutes, whatever it is, because we can run late today. We got no freaking Teddy. What is your big game breakdown?
Yeah, I don't believe in hard outs, Prez. I wanted some little extra football for everybody, so I'm glad you're doing some NFL.
You should never pull out hard.
Oh, my God. See, by the way, to put it in perspective, Tokyo's still baiting you is fantastic because it's 1 a.m. in Tokyo right now. He should be in bed, so it makes it even better when you put it in perspective. All right, let's look at a free play in college football here. Let's look at a free play in the Big Ten this Saturday. College football, Fox National TV, noon Eastern. Michigan Wolverines, perhaps the most anti-public play I've seen in my 29 years as a professional football handicapper was last Saturday. Everybody, their brother and sister, and then some were on USC. In fact, I did a standalone video like this here on WagerTalk TV. I also had it in my top 25 college football video. And I mentioned that I don't do a lot with college consensus, but everybody was on USC. And boy, did the comments reflect that. I've never seen so many one-sided comments because, by the way, I read the comments and I do reply back. I love the interaction. Everybody loved USC, but my proprietary database simulation had Michigan winning outright by 3. Oh, guess what? Michigan won outright by 3. So what do we do with Michigan now? They go from being a home dog to a 9-point home favorite. Minnesota, meanwhile, did not look good against Iowa last week. I mentioned the under in that game on a free play video. That obviously did not work out because I did not think Iowa was capable of scoring 31 points, but they did. So not a good sign for the Minnesota defense. But I am going to look at the total again here because Michigan definitely could come back down to earth. And I still don't trust this Michigan offense to win by margin. Keep in mind, they only had 12 first downs in that game against USC. 27 points on 12 first downs. It was all rushing offense as we thought it would be. The catalyst last week was the quarterback change. They went away from Allen, who had started the first 3 games, had 6 interceptions, only 2 touchdowns. But Ouija, I think it's Orgy is how you pronounce it. Put him at quarterback. He's a running quarterback, and he did what he was supposed to. He didn't throw picks, and they ran the ball extremely well against what I thought was still a suspect USC defense. That was the other thing cracking me up last week, was that everybody in the comments was like, this USC defense is different this year. Yeah, well, we got to see that first. I'm not a believer still. And they did have great success on the ground, 290 rushing yards. Michigan only threw the ball 12 times for 32 total yards. Now, Minnesota did struggle to stop the Iowa run attack, but they had been okay in the weeks before that. In fact, the previous two games, they gave up 18 and 58 total rushing yards. So I still think this is a solid Minnesota D. They held North Carolina to just 19 points in the season opener. Two teams that can play some defense, two teams that are not a real threat, I think, offensively, especially Michigan, who's going to ground and pound. And when they have the lead, they will continue to ground and pound. Let's take a look at the under. Now, it did open as high as 40. Heavy sharp money early this week has smashed it down to 36. Would have liked 37 or higher, but I still think under is the play, even at 36. Some light rain in the forecast. Maybe that's why it dropped a bit. I don't think it's going to be an issue, though. Hopefully this goes back to 37. So I do like the under. Wait here during the week, though. See if maybe we can get a buy back to 37 or higher. But I would take a look at Michigan, Minnesota under the total. I think this will be a low-scoring rushing game in college football on Saturday at noon Eastern on Fox. Don't forget, 10-4 the last 2 weeks. I was 5-2, 5-2. That's consistency at its best. 10-4 the last couple weeks in football best bets. But don't sleep on baseball. As of time of recording this, 30-9 baseball run, and there's still over a month left. And get a great special right now. You don't have to decide between baseball, football, or basketball. I'm number one the last 3 years in NBA profit as well. That starts in a month. Get the 3 months, fourth month free right now. Buy 3 months, get a fourth month free at WagerTalk.com. No promo code needed. It's available right now. Works out to just over $3 a play all the way into next year. Right now, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker with shortcut WT.buzz/SM.
Steve, man, every time you come on, it's like all you do is win. So much is going through my mind right now, and I can't say any of it. Okay.
Now I really want to hear it.
Yeah, dude, well, I'm just thinking, like, you're so damn good at everything. I was just thinking that there better be some two in your house. Okay, so with that said,
Can't help himself. He's trying to get. I'm not going to take the Tokyo bait. Man. You can't bait me. You know me too well. You can't bait me. I'm not Teddy. I'm not Tokyo. It just slides off me. I'm slick.
Okay.
Okay. Can't bait me.
Okay. So, firstly, shout out to everyone who's already purchased my $5 play for Sunday. Thank you. I love when I give it out on the show, and then it happens on the show, so I know it's people who are listening live that are buying it. Means the freaking world to me. Mark Zinno, everyone. Somebody actually asked if Jesse Shule could take Mark Zinno in a fight. I have not seen Mark pose in the mirror, but I've seen his neck, and the answer is no. How are you, Mark?
Do you shave your neck?
Well, I hope not to grow hair on my neck. So
don't worry, Tokyo could show you how to wax it.
That was a Tokyo reference, Mark. That was not a shot at you. That was a shot at Tokyo. If you weren't on earlier, so yeah.
Listen, Tokyo took a lot of shots starting in 1945. It hasn't been good since. So,
well, I like that. That was clever.
Mark, you have an impressive neck. Let's move on. You like Washington State plus he does, right, Steve? Like, in all seriousness, that is a
I will say that is something you look at if you're going to fight a guy. You want to make sure they're not thick up there like in the traps and stuff, because that's a sign of some strength. So that is a sign of respect. I don't disagree with that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Pencil neck geek is a term, right? You call someone a pencil neck geek, so obviously this is the opposite of that. So Mark knows what I'm talking about.
This show, I hope Teddy's not watching this show, because Teddy would lose his mind. Mark, I'm going to shut up now.
Neck.
Washington
Teddy
State
is a guy who has a very thin neck. That's a great point right there, Prez.
Dude,
my money would be on Mark Zinno against Teddy in a fight.
Mark
Teddy
would
literally fight dirty, though. But Teddy would say stop, and then throw dirt in his eyes or something. So I don't know. That could go both ways.
Holy crap. We're going to run the show to 1:30. Why not? Mark Zinno, Washington State plus 7.5. Tell us why you like them.
I mean, this line just sort of jumped off the board at me. Maybe Washington State, because they no longer have a conference, seems to be flying under the radar. They're 4-0, and that includes playing two actual, Power 5 teams in Washington and Texas Tech. I know this kind of looks a little bit stinky because Washington State found themselves in a dogfight with San Jose State last week, a game that they had to make a furious comeback in to push to overtime and end up winning this thing. But I can't get past the Washington State offense here, guys. This is a top 10 offense in the country. They're top 30 in passing efficiency. And John Mateer is a quarterback. He's got 11 touchdowns to just 4 interceptions in 4 games. Look, you're not going to get a ton of great passing efficiency from Mateer because he's just, not that guy at this point as a sophomore. In future years, he'll get better. But, they've thrown the 3rd most passing touchdowns in the country. They move the ball. They play fast. Boise State, for all the accolades that they have, they're finally ranked. What do we always do when a team gets ranked for 1 week that wasn't ranked before? Well, I like to fade that team because that ranking doesn't usually hang on. These two teams actually do have a common opponent already in Portland State. Boise just beat Portland State last week 56-14. Well, Washington dumped 70 on Portland State. I know Boise State can win this game, and I really think it's going to be close. And with a total of 65, is there a possible this could be 41-31 and Boise State wins a thing? Maybe, but if that total is that high and I'm getting more than a touchdown with Washington State here, I'm going to take it. And let me give you another little interesting nugget here about Wazoo, guys. Their path to the college football playoff may actually be really live. They have to play Boise State this week. Let's just say they win this game. If they can win this game. The only other tough road game they have is at Oregon State November 23rd. If they're 11-1 or 10-2, how do you keep this team out? I mean, we've seen lesser teams in years past be in that, old format of the 4. They're hanging around the top 6 because they've been undefeated for this is a team that is going to continue to fly under the radar. Yes, I get they don't have the toughest schedule, but that hasn't really ever changed anybody's opinion when it comes to making the college football playoff, or at least being ranked in the top 12, top 10, whatever it may be here. So this is just way too many points for an offense like Washington State to be getting in this spot. 3 or 4, I would be a lot more hesitant. When I'm getting over a touchdown, I'm getting 7.5 with Wazoo Cougs here. I'm not going to pass it up with this offense. It's too much potency, too much firepower. Give me the Cougars here, plus a 7.5.
Mark Zinno loves Cougars. You heard it here on Wager Talk today. Mark, it's interesting to talk about Boise State.
You know what,
look at
Steve,
Prez.
that might have been one of your best lines that is 100% factual. I mean, of all the facts you spit out on the show, that probably was near the top of the facts that you've ever given out here on Wager Talk TV.
And I know what Prez is thinking. Mark could be like Kyle Anthony's twin brother, right? So how ironic is it that he loves Cougars? Because everything about that is just so fantastic.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
So
those two could just stand in a casino and spin
of them,
around.
I've had a lot of good ideas for like a virtual reality like TV show where I could just follow people with cameras. That'd be one of the better ones right there. We just put a camera on those two and let them wreak havoc for a week in Las Vegas, Nevada, and then have Teddy join in at times as well. Mark, it's real quick. It's interesting, though, you talked about Boise cracking the top 25 because Arthur DeCesar was on this summer when I was guest hosting one of these episodes, and he mentioned a lot of sharp futures money had come on Boise season wins over to win the playoffs or make the playoffs, things like that. So it will be interesting now to see if the Broncos can keep that ranking and kind of live up to that wise guy expectation preseason. And also, I thought of you because when I was doing a show with Gabe Morency Friday on Sports Grid, he pointed out that the Pac-2 is exclusively on the CW network this year, which I had no clue college football had ever been on CW. And we turned it on that night. That Friday night San Jose State game was on. You do Endgame Live, so I'm sure you already knew that, but good stuff. Mark was on MLB First Pitch earlier today to live 11 a.m. Eastern. You can watch the replay. He broke down Cardinals, Rockies, Mets, Braves first 5 for a best bet on that show. And we already looked at the total in the Blue Jays Red Sox, but you got a first 5 take on Blue Jays Red Sox as well. So let us know what you're looking at there.
I mean, Trig mentioned it all before about Bowden Francis. That's really where the handicap is and how legit he's been over the last couple of starts. In fact, he's taken 2 of his last, I think it's 4 or 5 starts, into the 8th inning with a no-hitter. Insane numbers here for Bowden Francis and what he's done. But I'm also willing here to fade Brian Bello a little bit. Because this is a guy this year, the first time through the order, opposing teams are batting .272 against him. 8 of his 19 home runs have given up the first time through the order. So, I mean, this is a guy that has trouble keeping the ball in the ballpark. His walks are up. I mean, it's crazy that a pitcher's numbers actually go down the second, third time through the order. But Brian Bellows had trouble getting off the Schneider in the early part of the game here. And given the fact that I don't want either one of these teams bullpen involved in anything because they're both complete dumpster fires. I mean, it's just pitiful watching both of these guys pitch after that. But if Bowden Francis, who, by the way, has gone through at least 6 innings in all of his last, I think it's 5 of his last 6 starts, he's gone to 6 innings. I love this spot here for Toronto. I know Boston still has something to play for, but Francis is enough for me to back here against a shaky starter like Brian Bello here. The Toronto bats start to be a little bit, wonky at times, a little quirky, like they just stopped scoring. So I don't mind keeping the tie in my back pocket here and paying a little bit more juice to keep this thing on the money line. And the number was, pretty amenable to me. I get it. There's a lot of reasons not to bet on Toronto here, but Bowden Francis is a guy that I've been backing here for a couple of weeks now, and it's turned out good more often than not, so I'll continue to do it here. Blue Jays first 5 money line best bet.
Mark Zinno. Oh my God, Dan Alexander and I are having the best time in the Slack channel.
Oh, man, come on.
Okay.
Let me in. Come
No,
on, Prez.
no, we're moving on. We're
Let me
moving
in.
on. Oh, no, you don't want – no, it's literally all about you, Steve. Mark,
come on, man. I want in.
Mark.
Yes, sir. Yes. Hit me.
Thank you for being on the show, dude. It's $5 Tuesdays. What do you have going for the clients?
4% best bet, Major League Baseball up 24 units since August 1st in Major League Baseball. I also have a baseball package up for tonight, a 3-pack, just a little bit extra sprinkling out there for the folks who want a little bit more than just one game in their package. I mean, look, if for a 4% best bet, normally $25, you can get now 4 of them with the $5 package and the 3 extra here for $24. That's a savings of $1, guys. You see how that math works out? You see how the pitch worked out all together here? I'm providing value, entertainment, and just a little bit of pizzazz here on WagerTalk today. So I'm not as good as some other people who are much better at touting themselves than I am, but I will take my humility and be gone.
Mark Zinno, I love you, brother. Thanks for joining us. Steve, as Dan points out, rule number 1 in our Slack channel is you don't talk about our Slack channel. So we must move on. Steve, thanks for doing this today, man. I had a freaking blast. This was a spectacular show. We still have the daily presidential address coming up. Tell us again what you have going with the clients.
So it's $5 Tuesday for everybody at WagerTalk.com right now, and that is Tuesday only. Clock strikes midnight. All those advanced football plays go back to $25 to $35, but also the baseball best bets tonight. And don't sleep on baseball because I'm on a 30-9 baseball run, ranked number 1 in all of baseball this year, units 1, and it continues with a strong steamroller blowout. And normally it'd be $25. You get an instant 80% discount because it's $5 Tuesday. But hey, look, $5 is great, but how about getting every play every day for the next 4 months for just over $3 a play? That's even cheaper than $5 Tuesday, and you get every football, college and pro best bet, college and pro basketball, and baseball for the next 4 months. You buy 3 months, you get the 4th month for free, and that works out to just over $3 a play. Check it out right now, Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, and also subscribe and click that bell for instant alerts here on WagerTalk TV so you never miss all the free play videos each and every day here on the channel.
Man, you should sell Gorilla Tape. You're unbelievable. You are the best pitch guy on this website, bar none. And your record.
I want to sell Flex Seal.
Helps.
I want the Flex Seal
Flex
products,
Seal.
man. I want to part of that.
Yeah. You should do it.
That guy's great.
Okay. We got to move this on. It's time for your daily thank you, Steve. It's time for your daily presidential address. Okay, everybody, I got a play for you guys on this Minnesota Green Bay game. And this is likely going to be a client play. I haven't fully confirmed where I'm going yet, but I do love this play, and it is on the total. We'll talk about it in a second. Before we get into that, I want to make mention that it is $5 Tuesday over at Wager Talk. I have a 4% total play going in NFL. It's only $5. I'm on a 3-0 run in these plays. And I'm 25-9 in my last 34 4% plays. I won this exact play last week. I'm going to win it again this week. Just $5, guys. Head over to Wager Talk and grab that play. Okay, let's talk Minnesota and Green Bay. Firstly, I want to say that I'm very, 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 very impressed with both of these teams right now. Green Bay has won 2 in a row. And that is without Jordan Love. And they are clicking on all cylinders. But really, it's their defense that is killing it. And this Vikings team, man, Nobody thought this Vikings team was going to start 3-0. And yes, Sam Darnold has played absolutely outstanding. But again, it's their defense that is killing it. This Vikings team has gone under the total 3 games in a row, all 3 this season, and they have allowed 7, 17, and 6 points. And the 17 points they allowed, that was against San Fran. That is incredibly impressive. Green Bay had a rough outing in game 1, and since then, they've only allowed 14 points and 10 points against them. Here we have the number 1 running team in the entire league in Green Bay playing against the number 3 rushing D in the entire league in Minnesota. Minnesota is also the second best team behind Pittsburgh in points allowed. And Green Bay, even after Philly put up 100 on them, is in the top half of the league in points allowed. Although both these teams can score, and they have been scoring, I think we see a very slow, methodical type of game. I think we see a real ton of running, a heavy dose of running, especially from Green Bay. And I think we see some lights out defense. I think this number is 3 points too high at 43.5. I had this game handicapped at 40.5. I'm going to take that field goal of value and bet the under. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm also taping the NFL presidential address today. It'll be up by 6 p.m. Eastern Tuesday. Love you all. See you tomorrow.